so much for posting in the comments about how my video last week or on Tuesday sounded to you, because one thing that I really don't like about posting a song is I post it and I'm like, I don't even know how this song sounds anymore, because like a lot of these songs, they evolved. Like it took me a long time to write it. Sometimes I'll just write it in a week or two. Often I'll write it and then like a few months later I'll pick it up where I left off, and then it'll take sometimes years before a song comes together. So I have no idea how the song actually sounds for the first time to fresh ears, when there's not all that bias and all the I mean, with these songs, a lot of it is just like they've been going down the same neural pathways, or maybe I've like created new neural pathways every time that I've played the song. So it's a really mysterious thing. It's like I feel like I know the song so well. It's like in my body, it's in my muscle memory, it's in my body, it's in my mind, it's in my emotions, but then I still don't know what the song even is. So it was really cool to hear your reflections on how it struck you, which actually helped me to remember, oh yeah, when I wrote this song, these other things were going on, and I totally forgot those elements of the song, which are just sort of implicit in the song, but I don't notice them anymore. So yeah, thanks. Feel free to always comment how a song strikes you, because I love, like, it just helps me to actually know what the heck the song is, in my very biased and like, I can't see the forest for the trees sort of perspective on my own music. So thank you. This week I posted Chasing Something, and it's a song that I wrote when I was somebody in my life was going through divorce, and I was trying to actually empathize and figure out. It was the first time when I actually reflected seriously on, like, what would it be like to get divorced? Like that seems like it'd be pretty devastating. And I'm a very empathetic person, and I'm a very imaginative person. And so that's what this song is basically. It's like empathy, empathy, imagination, and the idea of divorce comes up. So I'm like, what would that be like? And I think that is a great combination for art, being highly empathetic and imaginative. However, I think there are some ways in which being highly empathetic and imaginative can go very wrong in real life outside of the arts. And so I thought I would share, either for just interest of what it's like to be extremely empathetic and imaginative, or if you happen to be that way too, maybe you can learn from my mistakes. So I think that some of the way, like, I think the danger of being really empathetic and imaginative is basically that you can end up just projecting onto other people. And this can be harmful in two ways. It can be harmful to the other person because you think that you're empathizing with them, but really you're just expressing yourself and projecting onto them. And that could be very, like, invalidating for the other person, or also just annoying. So I'll give you an example. I did a attachment theory a coaching certification, where I learned about the different attachment styles. You may have heard of them: dismissive avoidant, anxious preoccupied, fearful avoidant, and secure attachment styles. Those are kind of the four main ones that people talk about. And the thing is, each attachment style tends to go with a certain kind of wounding, which is basically that, painful things happen to people, and the wounds, from the way that I learned about it, is basically the meaning that people make out of it, and that's sort of the automatic place that they go in the future when something painful comes up. So, for example, a dismissive avoidant attachment style individual is more likely to when they're in a painful situation, start to feel start to think that they're defective, and to feel trapped and that sort of thing. Like, so the deepest wounds are, I am defective, I am trapped, that sort of thing. Whereas an anxious preoccupied individual is more likely to have wounds that are more like, I am alone, I am unlovable, that kind of thing. So if you've got a dismissive avoidant trying to empathize with an anxious preoccupied person, then you could very easily come to a situation where the anxious preoccupied person is feeling lonely and unlovable, and the dismissive avoidant person is like, oh, this is happening to you, and it seems like this is hard for you. You must be feeling like you're trapped. And then the person who's anxious preoccupied is like, no, actually, I'm not feeling that way. Like, why are you projecting this onto me? That's the sort of thing that I mean. And it wouldn't be in those terms. It would probably be on a more superficial level, but that would be ultimately the language that the two individuals are speaking in. And so the dismissive avoidant person would be totally missing the anxious preoccupied person's real experience, and just really expressing themselves instead. Like, oh, I'm empathetic, and like, so I want to, experience what you're experiencing, but really I'm not experiencing what you're experiencing. I'm just imagining what I would experience in that situation. So that's the first danger. And it could be vice versa. It could be the anxious preoccupied person projecting feeling lonely onto the dismissive avoidant person. Or with any of the attachment styles. Insert whatever wound is going on there. That's the first danger of being empathetic and imaginative. The second danger that I have identified is basically that if you're empathetic and imaginative, then you can get yourself into a situation where you basically just sink yourself into unnecessary pain, thinking that you're having that pain in solidarity with the other person, when really they're fine. And I'll give you an example of this. There's somebody in my life that I really care about who, basically I would, as an empathetic and imaginative person, I saw some of the difficult things that they were going through, and I projected onto them, if I was in that situation, then I would feel X, Y, and Z, or it would be difficult for me in X, Y, and Z ways, let's say. So I'm projecting that onto them, and then for years and years, like maybe 5 or 10 years, I was just feeling terrible for this person, and it would like sink a bunch of my energy, that I was just like, oh, this happened to that person, it must be so hard every single day. It's just like, I would like make myself feel guilty if I didn't feel terrible in solidarity with that person. 5 or 10 years later, I find out that they're actually a very resilient person, and they've totally moved on, or like very, very, very effectively moved on from that situation. Not that it never bothers them or something, but just that like they're fine, they've been fine this whole time. And so like all of those years I was just like suffering needlessly. And I was thinking about it, I was like, I think this is what they mean when they talk about in the plane, like, put your own oxygen mask on first before you help somebody else. Because I was just like needlessly making myself suffer, and it didn't actually help the other person anyways. So that might be something you want to watch out for if you also happen to be highly empathetic and highly imaginative like me. And so, maybe the moral of the story is, if you're highly empathetic and imaginative, keep that combination for your art. Find a good expression of it that's productive and that builds you and other people up, rather than like sinking it into ineffectively trying to empathize with another person and just making them feel invalidated and annoyed on the one hand, or just like sinking yourself into unnecessary pain in solidarity with the person when they're not even experiencing that pain themselves. Okay, so and I'll give one final sort of piece of personal experience. I was going to say advice. I'm not really here to give advice. I just think it might be interesting for people to hear. Like I say, those are things that you should not do if you're trying to empathize with people. So what should you do if you're trying to empathize with people? Well, here's what I have learned in a practical course that I took this year studying to be a psychotherapist. So it turns out when you're trying to empathize with somebody, especially just at the very beginning stages of it, before you move any further in empathy, or just like really trying to like help move somebody forward, the first step is very simple and does not need to involve almost any creativity on your part. When I started this course and I was trying to empathize with clients, it was just like, oh yeah, like as soon as they would tell me the difficult things going on for them, I would just start to think of all these different connections and like all these different, like, oh, maybe she's making this meaning out of it. Maybe she's feeling this way because of this connection with the husband that she was talking about, whatever. And it turns out that was totally unnecessary. And the most important thing when somebody's first telling you what's going on for them is to just listen and paraphrase back. And the paraphrase can be almost using, like, it's even good if you use the words that they used in a lot of cases. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. If someone comes to you and says like, oh, X, Y, and Z is going on in my life and I'm just finding it so hard, then you can literally just reflect back to them, oh man, it sounds like X, Y, and Z is happening in your life and that's really hard. And that's literally, like, that will make the person feel so seen, and it's so much better than if you're like projecting yourself onto them and trying to make up a whole thing, because it's like you don't have to make it up, like they just said it. So that's the first thing. And like obviously it's not going to be that like robotic, because that's not the way that people usually talk about things. Like a lot of the time people just come along and they're like, this is so difficult, or like, or they'll sort of say it in a way that's not very organized. So yeah, if you can just be like, oh man, it sounds like this, like I said, X, Y, and Z, that sounds hard. That's great. Like that's really, 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 really good empathy. I do not receive that very often in my everyday life, and I'm sure that other people don't receive that very often either. So if you do that for someone, that's a real gift, and that will make you above and beyond the average listener. And then the second part is, if you actually do want to be a little bit creative, and you don't want to just like parrot back to them what they said, and you are like the more imaginative sort, then perhaps you can put the imagination in the direction of just like a tiny little additive thing, like just like, yeah, it sounds like X, Y, and Z has happened and it's really difficult. And then also, you've mentioned recently like that you've been really tired, or like a lot has been going on for you. So like, are you tired on top of all of that? Like just a little something extra, and then like actually checking in, like, oh, are you tired on top of all that? Like, is that right? Then the person, has the opportunity to be like, oh no, actually no, that's not right. It's fine. But it shows that you are taking that extra step of caring enough and empathizing enough and being enough in their shoes that you could be like, oh, and then there's this whole other element that could be going on for you too. Is this going on too? Like that is a really great additive. but you're checking in, so it's not that you're just projecting yourself onto them. It's actually like, it's still like the other person centered. So yeah, that's a thought that I had, based on, going through the courses. I was very surprised at how uncreative empathy can be, and how much more effective it is when you're not being excessively imaginative when you're empathizing with people. You can save that for the art.